What is up, everyone? Today we're reacting to extinct animals that scientists want to bring back. So let's go. Extinct animals brought back to life. Woolly mammoth. What? They're not alive. Hold on. Woolly mammoths. The dodo. Direwolves. Oh, they're so cute.
These are the top 5 terrifying creatures humans want to bring back, and number 1 might be a big mistake. Comment which one creeped you out the most. First, you'll have insane luck if you like.
Shut the
subscribe before this video ends.
I hate videos like this, but
First up, the woolly mammoth. Scientists made a woolly mouse with cold-resistant genes to prep for cloning a mammoth. The Ice Age might walk again. Next, the Tasmanian tiger.
No.
Extinct since the 1930s, but researchers are using DNA to bring it back. Imagine one in your backyard. Now, the dodo.
I'm cooked.
That clumsy flightless bird? They're reviving it with pigeon DNA. Can't wait to see it trip over everything again. Next, the cave lion. They found a frozen cub in Siberia with fur. Now they're talking about cloning. Jurassic Park vibes. Finally, the dire wolf. It's already back. Scientists created 3 pups in a lab. Huge, fluffy, and low-key terrifying. These are the top 5.
I mean, the dire wolf and the fucking dodo bird doesn't sound that bad, though.
These are the top 5 extinct animals scientists actually want to bring back. I bet you've never imagined the last one coming back to life. Comment which one you'd want to see return. But first, if you're feeling amazed today, like and subscribe. Number 5, dodo bird. The clumsy, flightless bird that vanished forever.
Animals that scientists are trying to bring back.
Tell me. Tiberius. No! No, we don't need this. Tell me why we need a water snake. We already have leeches. That's enough of a water snake enough. And not to mention we actually have fucking water snakes. What the we need that for? Ew. No, that would fucking scare me. I love snakes, but that would terrify me. Like I love seeing snakes. I think they're beautiful. I always wanted to own one. But that would terrify me. From North America, saber-toothed tiger. Oh, hell no. No.
Animals that scientists are trying to bring back.
These are the top 5 extinct animals scientists want to bring back. Some of these creatures vanished thousands of years ago, but now science might actually bring them back to life. The last one is so massive it could change the entire ocean.
This looks AI.
Before we start, if you love animals, smash that like
I hate
button and
animals.
subscribe, and comment which one you'd want to see alive again. First is the woolly mammoth, the furry cousin of the elephant from the Ice Age. Scientists are using frozen DNA to bring it back. Next is the Tasmanian tiger, a striped dog-like predator that vanished in the 1930s. It could return within a few years. Next one is the dodo bird, the famous flightless bird humans wiped out. Researchers are editing pigeon DNA to revive it. Next is the saber-toothed tiger. With fangs longer than your hand, it ruled the Ice Age. But bringing it back could be risky. And finally, last one is the megalodon, the largest shark ever, over 60 feet.
First off, no. First off, I'm already scared enough of it is. I'm already scared of the ocean enough as it is. I'm afraid to even swim in that hell. You are not bringing back the megalodon. The fuck you mean bringing back the megalodon?
If it returned, no ocean would be safe again.
Yeah, no shit. The oceans are barely safe now.
These are the top 5 extinct animals
Skinwalker.
scientists actually want to bring back. And the last one is so unbelievable.
The fuck
it
is
feels
that?
straight out of Jurassic Park.
That's-
Comment which one you'd want to see alive
Ooh,
again.
ooh.
But first, you'll have incredible
Damn.
luck if you like and subscribe to my channel before this video ends. First is the woolly mammoth. Scientists plan to revive it using frozen DNA mixed with modern elephants for Arctic reintroduction. Next is the saber-toothed tiger. Its deadly fangs reached up to 7 inches long and were perfect for hunting large prey. Next is the dodo bird. It went extinct in the 1600s, soon after humans first arrived on remote islands. Next is the Tasmanian tiger.
It's crazy how we killed the
These are
dodo
the
bird.
top 3 extinct animals scientists want to bring
Is that AI?
Pure nightmare fuel. Comment which one you'd never want to see.
That
alive
all looks
again.
AI right
Number
there.
3.
Even
First
the-
is the woolly mammoth. Using frozen DNA, scientists are
What frozen DNA? Ten animals that scientists are trying to bring back.
Never collects your search history, and it blocks
Hold on.
most cookies ads.
That
Well, that was easy.
Download DuckDuckGo today.
hold on. Scientists are trying to bring back these 10 animals.
that scientists
Shut up. Scientists are trying to bring back these 10 animals back from extinction. Direwolves are back. Alright. Alright. Alright.
have officially brought back the dire wolf. Yes, the ancient, legendary predator made famous by Game of Thrones is no longer just fantasy or fossil. It's alive. Well, kind of. And it's the beginning of something way bigger. Because if we can bring back this beast, what else could we resurrect? The woolly mammoth, the dodo. Maybe even that prehistoric sea cow, as
No.
big as a van. In this video, we're diving deep into the 10 real-life animal scientists are actually trying to bring back from extinction.
Alright, tell
We're
it to me.
talking the science, the stakes, and the crazy timelines.
Right?
So if you've ever dreamed of living in a Jurassic Park-style world, keep watching. Let's start with the star of the hour, the dire wolf. This beast roamed North America up to 10,000 years ago. Think of it like a bulked up, more aggressive version of today's gray wolf. Heavier, stronger jaws, and designed to take down big Ice Age prey, like bison and even baby mammoths. Dire wolves were apex predators. And they weren't actually wolves, not really. Genetically, they were a completely separate lineage. So different that scientists didn't realize it until recently. In 2025, Colossal Biosciences, the same startup trying to revive the woolly mammoth, announced that they had created viable dire wolf pups using a mix of recovered DNA and
No.
gene editing with gray wolves as surrogates. These aren't clones. They're genetic hybrids designed to mimic the real thing. Why bring it back? It's not just about nostalgia or sci-fi cool points. Reviving predators like this could restore broken ecosystems, but it also opens Pandora's box. Because once you bring one species back, what's next? And that's where we're headed. Let's explore the other 10 species scientists are trying to resurrect, and where each one stands on the brink of reality. Number 1, the Ice Age icon. The woolly mammoth is the crown jewel of de-extinction. These giants ruled the Ice Age tundra, from Siberia to North America, for hundreds of thousands of years, standing up to 13 feet tall and weighing as much as 6 tons. Mammoths were armored against the cold with long, shaggy fur, a thick layer of fat, and curved tusks that could shovel snow in search of grass. They disappeared about 4,000 years ago. Not that long ago in the grand scheme of things. In fact, there were still small mammoth populations alive on isolated islands after the pyramids were built. So how do you bring back a creature like this? Well, you don't clone it straight up. The DNA's too degraded. Instead, scientists are editing the genes of its closest living relative, the Asian elephant. Using CRISPR gene editing tech, they're inserting cold-adapted mammoth genes into elephant embryos. We're talking genes for hair growth, subcutaneous fat, hemoglobin for cold tolerance.
We don't need
skull
that.
shape, and tusk curvature.
And we don't need
The
it.
result, a hybrid. Not a perfect copy, but a genetically engineered animal that walks like, looks like, and survives like a mammoth. Colossal Biosciences says they're on track to grow the first one by 2028, possibly using an artificial womb, since elephant pregnancies are long and risky. But here's the wildest part. They want to release mammoth herds back into the Arctic tundra. These creatures could literally help slow climate change by trampling down snow, breaking up moss and allowing grasses to regrow. Number 2, the ghost of Australia. The Tasmanian tiger. This next one looks like something out of a dream or a glitch in nature. Also known as the thylacine. Not
You think that's a glitch? Look at the platypus.
a tiger. Not a wolf. It was a marsupial predator, which means it carried its young in a pouch, just like a kangaroo. The thylacine had a dog-like body, stripes across its back and tail, and jaws that could open nearly 80 degrees, almost snake-like. Seriously, it could yawn like a cartoon villain. It once roamed all across mainland Australia, Tasmania, and even parts of New Guinea. But when humans arrived, things went south fast. Dingoes outcompeted them on the mainland, and when Europeans settled in Tasmania, they blamed thylacines for killing livestock, so they put a bounty on them. By 1936, the last known thylacine, named Benjamin, died in a Hobart Zoo, left outside in the cold because someone forgot to lock him indoors. But here's where things get wild. There have been hundreds of alleged sightings since then. Hikers, rangers, farmers, even blurry trail cam photos. The thylacine is like the Australian Bigfoot, but one that was actually real and very recently alive. Now, scientists at the University of Melbourne, backed by Colossal Biosciences, are trying to bring it back. They've already sequenced the genome and are using the fat-tailed dunnart, a tiny carnivorous marsupial, as the surrogate. And they're not just focused on the lab, they're also working to restore thylacine habitat, so that if and when they succeed, these creatures can return to the wild, not just to zoos. Imagine walking through the Tasmanian bush and hearing the call of a creature we thought was gone forever. That's the future they're building toward. Number 3, the icon of extinction. The dodo, the poster child for extinction. But here's the thing. Everything we thought we knew about the dodo, probably wrong. First off, it wasn't fat and dumb. That's colonial PR. Early Dutch sailors on the island of Mauritius described the dodo as easy to catch, but that's only because the dodo had no natural predators and had never seen humans before. It evolved in total isolation. Why would it fear something it didn't know existed? And the fat thing. It turns out dodos were probably leaner and more agile than the exaggerated drawings suggest, especially in the wild. The goofy, clumsy image we know today came from overfed captive birds drawn by bored European artists. The dodo's real story is tragic. Within 80 years of its discovery, it was wiped out. Not just by humans, but by the rats, pigs, and monkeys that settlers brought with them. These invasive animals ate dodo eggs, which were laid on the ground and had no defenses. Now, scientists are rewriting the dodo's ending. Researchers at Colossal Biosciences and the University of California, Santa Cruz have sequenced its genome using centuries-old DNA fragments. They're working with the Nicobar pigeon, the dodo's closest living relative, to genetically modify embryos that could hatch in just a few years. The goal? To bring them back by 2028 and release them into protected habitats on Mauritius. But here's the real kicker. Bringing back the dodo could help save other species. The dodo used to spread the seeds of rare trees like the Tambalacock, which nearly went extinct without it. Reintroducing dodos could revive these ancient relationships, kind of like reuniting nature's lost soulmates. So no, the dodo wasn't dumb, but maybe we were, and now we have a shot at redemption. Number 4, the bird that darkened the sky, the passenger pigeon. The passenger pigeon once ruled the skies of North America. Not just in thousands, not even millions. We're talking billions of birds. Their flocks could stretch 300 miles long, take hours to pass overhead, and make the sky feel like a moving cloud of wings and sound. These weren't city pigeons. Passenger pigeons were fast, wild, and fierce flyers, clocking speeds up to 60 miles per hour. They migrated in super swarms, sometimes so dense the air felt alive. But here's what's truly wild. They were ecological engineers. They reshaped forests just by existing. Their guano enriched the soil. Their movements scattered seeds across entire regions. And when they nested, they'd cover entire square miles of forest. A single tree could hold over 100 nests, so many that branches would snap under their weight. They were designed to survive by numbers, but it was those very numbers that made them vulnerable when people industrialized hunting. In the 1800s, commercial hunters used telegraphs to locate flocks and railroads to ship pigeon meat across the country. It became a nationwide massacre. Cannon nets, fire smoke, and baiting methods wiped
That's
them out
crazy.
in just a few decades. The last known passenger pigeon, Martha, died alone in the Cincinnati Zoo in 1914. But now there's hope. Scientists at Revive and Restore are reconstructing the pigeon's genome from preserved museum specimens. They're working with the band-tailed pigeon, its closest living cousin, to edit its DNA and breed a modern passenger pigeon hybrid. To return flocks of these birds to the eastern U.S. forests
Why?
by the early 2030s, and bring back not just a species, but an entire living system we didn't know we depended on. Because the real question isn't can we bring them back, it's what happens if we don't. Number 5, the vanished ocean giant Steller's sea cow. If you thought manatees were big, meet the Steller's sea cow, the gentlest 30-foot-long, 10-ton ocean grazer you've never heard of. First discovered in 1741 by the German naturalist Georg Wilhelm Steller, this sea cow lived in the frigid waters around the Commander Islands, near Alaska. It had thick brown skin like bark, no teeth, just rough plates for chewing kelp, and it spent its days floating peacefully in shallow water with its family, feeding in slow, sweeping movements. Steller described them as affectionate, intelligent, and curious. One account says they would even nuzzle up to wounded members of their herd and try to keep them afloat. But within just 27 years of their discovery, humans hunted every last one of them to extinction. Why? Because they were slow, they couldn't dive, and they were packed with insulating blubber, making them perfect targets for food, oil, and leather. Now, scientists want to bring them back, not just because they were beautiful creatures, but because of what happened to the ecosystem after they disappeared. Their feeding habits kept kelp forests healthy, preventing overgrowth and helping fish populations thrive. Today, with kelp forests collapsing due to climate change and exploding sea urchin populations, researchers are exploring how sea cows, or something like them, could help restore balance. They're looking at using dugongs, the sea cow's closest relative, and editing in ancient traits using recovered DNA from preserved bones. Number 6, the original boss of the European wild, the aurochs. An animal you've probably never seen,
That's
but whose
crazy.
DNA lives in every steakhouse on Earth. These massive, wild cattle once roamed all across Europe, Asia, and North Africa. Standing over 6 feet tall at the shoulder with long, forward-curving horns, they were fierce, fast, and impossible to domesticate until we did. Aurochs are the ancestors of all modern cattle. Ancient humans began taming them around 10,000 years ago, but wild populations kept going strong until the last known aurochs died in a Polish forest in 1627, an event so symbolic that it was recorded like a royal death. So why bring them back? Because aurochs weren't just cows, they were keystone species. Their grazing kept woodlands open. Their trampling encouraged biodiversity, and their presence shaped the ecology of Europe's forests and grasslands for millennia. Now, scientists across Europe are reverse engineering the aurochs by backbreeding primitive cattle that still carry strong genetic traits from their ancestor. Projects like Taros in the Netherlands and Uruz in Germany are selectively breeding each generation to get closer to the size, behavior, and DNA of the original. And it's working. These aren't ordinary cattle. They're massive, wild, and can survive in rugged, untamed environments without human help. This next animal looks like it couldn't decide what it wanted to be, a zebra or a horse. Meet the quagga, a now extinct subspecies of the plains zebra that had bold stripes on its front half and a smooth brown horse-like back half. It once roamed the grasslands of South Africa in huge herds, but colonial settlers hunted it relentlessly for meat, hides, and sport. By the late 1800s, it was gone. The last known quagga died in the Amsterdam Zoo in 1883, and people barely noticed. In fact, scientists didn't even realize it was a separate subspecies until almost a century later. For years, they thought it was just a weird zebra variation. But now, the Quagga Project in South Africa is doing something brilliant, using selective breeding to bring it back. By analyzing zebra populations with high percentages of quagga DNA, they're breeding animals that physically resemble their extinct ancestor. And it's working. Fourth-generation animals now look almost identical to quaggas. Fewer stripes, brown rear ends, and a genetic profile getting closer with each generation. Some of these animals have already been released into the wild. It's one of the most successful backbreeding efforts in the world, and a quiet win in the fight against extinction. Number 8. The animal that died twice. The Pyrenean ibex. Now this one's part miracle and part heartbreak. The Pyrenean ibex, or Bucardo, was a powerful mountain goat built for the harsh cliffs of the Pyrenees between France and Spain. It had massive curved horns and a thick coat, adapted perfectly for altitude and cold. But hunting and habitat loss drove it to the brink. In 2000, the last known Bucardo, a female named Celia, was crushed by a falling tree. And with her, the species was gone. But scientists had preserved some of her skin cells in liquid nitrogen. And in 2003, they did something no one had ever done. They cloned an extinct species. The cloned ibex was born alive. It breathed. It blinked. It lived for just 7 minutes. It died of lung defects. Still, it became the first species in history to go extinct and then be brought back. Today, researchers are refining their methods, learning from that first fragile success. With more preserved DNA, better surrogates, and advances in cloning, Celia might not...
So that's so crazy, because imagine waking up for 7 minutes and then you die. That is crazy to me.
Be the last of her kind for much longer. Number 9. Imagine a penguin, but in the North Atlantic. That was the great auk, a flightless seabird that stood about 3 feet tall, had tiny wings for swimming, and lived in massive colonies across Canada, Iceland, Greenland, and the UK. The great auk was a master diver. It could chase fish deep below the surface with powerful wing strokes, and its fat-rich body kept it warm in freezing waters. But that same fat also made it easy prey. Hunters wiped them out in the 1800s for oil, meat, and feathers. One of the last known auks was killed on Eldey Island in Iceland in 1844. Now, the great auk is being eyed for a comeback. Scientists have preserved DNA from museum specimens and are working with the razorbill, its closest relative, to explore genome editing that could produce an auk-like hybrid. But the challenge isn't just the bird. It's the islands themselves. The great auk needed undisturbed, predator-free islands for breeding. Those islands have changed and would need restoration to bring the species back safely. Still, seeing this bird again would be more than symbolic. It would reconnect us to a vanished Arctic world. And finally, we come to the monster, the giant short-faced bear, a beast that makes modern grizzlies look like teddy bears. This Ice Age predator stood up to 12 feet tall, had long limbs, and an incredibly wide snout built to enhance its smell range across miles. It wasn't a bulky ambusher like modern bears. It was a sprinter. It could probably run over 40 miles per hour, chasing prey across the open plains. Scientists believe it was both a hunter and a scavenger, using its size to intimidate other carnivores off their kills. It roamed North America until around 11,000 years ago, possibly wiped out by changing climates in competition with humans and other predators. Now, there's no active de-extinction project for it yet, but advances in ancient DNA extraction and synthetic biology are making it increasingly possible. If brought back, it would be the largest terrestrial carnivore ever revived, and a serious challenge for how we think about rewilding. Where would it go? How would it live? Could we even contain it? It's more than just a what if. It's a window into what science might attempt if we go all in on it. These final 4 species remind us that extinction isn't always the end of the story. Sometimes it's just the intermission. So now we've seen what's possible. 10 animals. Some already walking the earth again. Others in test tubes. A few still just blueprints on a lab computer. But one thing's clear, we're not just talking about science fiction anymore. We're entering a world where extinction might no longer be forever. Where woolly mammoth trample snow again. Where dodos waddle through forests. Where predator-prey balances could be restored after thousands of years. But this raises a bigger question. Just because we can bring them back, should we? Reintroducing these animals means rebuilding habitats, rewriting ecosystems, and possibly creating new ethical dilemmas. Are these real species or human-engineered facsimiles? What happens if something goes wrong? Or maybe the better question is, what if we don't try? What if these creatures represent a second chance?
Oh my gosh.
For science, for nature, and for us. Because in the end, bringing back the past might be the only way we protect the future.
With SafeLight, you can get that fixed now and pay later.
Fix now, pay later?
So,
Prehistoric Ocean wasn't just dangerous. It was a liquid horror show. Prehistoric Ocean wasn't just dangerous. It was a...
we're gonna watch one more video and then I'm gonna end it. And this is gonna be a reaction video, so yeah.
liquid horror show where nightmare creatures with giant eyes stalked through eternal darkness.
Crazy.
Some of these monsters are still alive today, lurking in places we've barely explored. Look, we think the ocean today is scary, which, fair enough, it's got great whites and giant squids and whatever else is down there that we haven't found yet. But prehistoric oceans? Those were on a whole different level of nope. Picture this, you're in water so deep that sunlight gave up trying to reach you about half a mile ago. The pressure would crush you instantly. The temperature is just above freezing. And in this pitch black, bone-crushing void, things were living. And not just living, they were thriving. Getting weird, getting big, and getting really, really good at killing stuff. See, back then, the deep ocean was where evolution went completely off the rails. No sunlight meant no plants, so everything down there had to get creative about dinner. Some grew massive eyes to catch the tiniest hint of light. Others just said screw it and went blind altogether. A few decided to even make their own light and wave it around like some kind of underwater serial killer with a flashlight. And the really messed up part, these weren't just random monsters that showed up for a few million years and then died out. In fact, they were already ancient when dinosaurs were still figuring out how to walk upright. And here's what really gets me. We only know about the ones that left fossils. Most deep-sea creatures just dissolve when they die. Their shells get eaten by acid, and they vanish without a trace. So for every horrifying prehistoric sea monster that we found, there's probably a dozen worse ones that we'll never even know existed. Like, imagine there are 12 creatures out there even more terrifying than the Megalodon. Deep Ocean back then was essentially a horror movie that ran for 500 million years, starring creatures that would make H.P. Lovecraft throw up, giant eyes staring through eternal darkness, teeth that don't fit in mouths, things that haven't changed their murder strategy since before your great times a million grandmother was even a twinkle in some primordial soup. Meet the Ophthalmosaurus. This thing lived 150 million years ago and had eyes the size of dinner plates. Not small dinner plates either. We're talking full-sized, fancy restaurant dinner plates. Each eyeball was 9 inches across, which is bigger than most basketballs. Now, you might be thinking, oh, big eyes, so what? Well,
Those massive eyes weren't just for looking pretty. They were for seeing in complete darkness while diving deeper than most nuclear submarines go today. This reptile could hold its breath for over 20 minutes and dive over 3,000 feet down into water so dark you couldn't see your hand in front of your face. Why would anything want to do that though? Well, simple. Dinner was down there. The weirdest part is how good it was at this job. While other marine reptiles were splashing around in shallow water eating fish, Ophthalmosaurus was down there in the void, using those massive eyes to spot the faintest glimmer of bioluminescence. Picture something bigger than a dolphin, but built like a torpedo, with eyes so big they had to be reinforced with rings of bone just so they wouldn't collapse under the pressure. And it wasn't even the only one doing this. We found these things all over Europe. So apparently diving into the abyss to hunt tentacled monsters was a popular career choice back then, which tells you something about how messed up the Jurassic oceans really were. But what if you didn't even need massive eyes to be a nightmare? Phosphorus was only 12 feet long. In the world of prehistoric sea monsters, that's basically a minnow. But here's the thing about this particular minnow. It had forward-facing eyes. You know what else has forward-facing eyes? Owls, hawks, things that hunt and kill other things for a living. Most reptiles have eyes on the sides of their heads because they spend their time trying not to get eaten. Phosphorus, this guy had both eyes pointing straight ahead, giving it depth perception that would make a sniper jealous. And those eyes were huge. Not Ophthalmosaurus huge, but big enough that they probably took up half its skull. So I just think this little monster was nocturnal. While all the big scary mosasaurs were sleeping off their day of terrorizing everything in sight, Phosphorus was just getting started. It would cruise through the dark waters, using those precision-guided eyes to pick off glowing lanternfish and squid that thought they were safe in the night. The really twisted part is how good it was at this job. We're talking about a reptile that figured out how to be an underwater owl 70 million years before actual owls even existed. It wasn't fast enough to chase down big prey in broad daylight, so it just waited until dark and became the ocean's first.
Like I said, this is one of those movies where you really got to pay attention.
Yeah, okay. You ready?
All right, yeah, let's watch it.
Cool. First serial killer. And get this, it lived in Japan. So while T-Rex was stomping around on land, the waters off prehistoric Japan were being stalked by this small, precise killer with giant forward-facing eyes, just cruising through the darkness, picking off anything dumb enough to light itself up. Talk about evolutionary specialization. Most mosasaurs were built like buses. This one was built like a scalpel. And of course, some deep-sea killers took a more direct approach. Viperfish have teeth so long they stick out of their mouth even when it's closed. These aren't normal teeth. These are straight-up fangs that curve back toward the eyes because there's literally nowhere else for them to go. This fish has been perfecting its nightmare look for 15 million years, and honestly, it nailed it on the first try.
Alright, guys.
The eyes because
so we're gonna I'm gonna do an extended version to animals that were extinct because my phone's at 10%. Anyways, that being said, yeah, bye.